Morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of the MPC Markets Morning Call, 21st of April, 2026. Another day, another deadline is the headline today. This will be a quick one today, people, because there's not much going on. We've got yet another Trump deadline. The ceasefire was supposed to be finishing tomorrow night. Trump has slipped up basically in an interview with Bloomberg and then shifted it to Wednesday night, mainly because he forgot, mainly because there probably isn't a deadline. But yeah, we snapped a 13-day winning streak. We've bounced about 9 or 10% out of the lows there now in the S&P 500, and it seems to have calmed down a little bit at this point. But yeah, but oil jumped up around about 5.9%. We've still got WTI crude at 90. And overall, we're 51 days till normal supply. No traffic going through the Strait of Hormuz, as you can see there. We've got the highest amount of troop buildup. Trump also said basically that when the ceasefire lapses, that the fighting will resume. Again, who knows? But look, this is costing the economy big time. We're sort of at a point now where we're getting into probably the 25 to 30 billion mark and costing the economy in the US and basically globally around Asia particularly. It's obviously costing the economies here in Australia, particularly with those consumer discretionary budgets, etc. So, there was a ship seized. There was a ship. There was multiple ships fired at. So the Strait is definitely not open. As you can see here, Meta and Netflix drifted off. Netflix has been in the doldrums since its earnings report. We didn't have too much overnight. Nothing of any major significance in terms of the any of the earnings reports. Really, we did have one of the ETFs actually. Well, an interesting report that was being covered pretty heavily was that Trump signed an executive order over the weekend, fast tracking psychedelics to the market for the treatment of PTSD and depression. And that's seen a lot of those companies in that space up around about 40-50% overnight, and the ETFs even up around about 10 to 15% at certain stages. So that entire RFK is going to tear down the FDA, etc. It seems to just be going the other way. I think they've largely funded a lot of stuff that they said they weren't going to, and all these fears in the medical sector are probably, were massively overplayed. So, a little bit of these software names heading higher again overnight. Just look, I think they're just bouncing back because the people coming to the realization that earnings aren't going to be affected this month, over the coming weeks in particular. We've got ServiceNow coming up in the next week. I think in the next 2 days, which should be pretty, I would say might be a pretty handy result coming off a pretty low base. Be a high risk trade, but be worth having a look at. Look, down small. Again, the technicals are all positive because we've bounced out of this low. That's actually the longest streak since 2014, apparently, for the S&P. Consecutive positive days, which I found pretty hard to believe. So you would expect this, you probably just expect this thing to go mildly sideways for the next couple of days, leading into this, the 500th deadline. Pretty quiet in terms of, obviously crude bounced. We had silver, platinum, and gold just drift off a bit, but overall, nothing much to report there. And look, you're going to have United Health tonight. We've got, you've got GE Aerospace, RTX, Northrop Grumman, so some of the defense stocks there. GE Vernova in the energy space, Lam Research in the semi space. Two of the Mag 7, Tesla and Amazon at the end of the week. Some oil. Even further towards the end of the week, Intel as well. Next era energy in the energy sector. And like I say, I do believe ServiceNow is in the next couple of days as well. And you will see Intuitive Surgical as well this week, which I think should be a pretty good one as well overall. It's sort of recently been beaten up quite a bit, having a look at things. So, if you, this is a really good time for you to be subscribed to the, to our Global Alpha recommendation service. We usually have a couple of recommendations a week through this period, and a very high win rate and track record on those, which you can see on the website, etc. So if you'd like to subscribe to those, just go to mosaic.mpcmarkets.com.au and subscribe today. You'll get a 1 month free trial, so it won't cost you anything, but it's a good time to start because you get those good, that solid recommendations there. For those of you who want to, who want to play into the stats, the next couple of years, or if you're holding index ETFs, etc., this is a far better way to play it. It's through a structured investment. You get on the nominated day in the week that we end up going with. I think it's a Monday. The lowest, for example, the lowest Monday close in the 6 month period between the middle of May to the middle of October is your entry price. So you get pretty much perfect 2020 hindsight as your entry price, and then you've got from that point in October, you've got 2.5 years for this thing to play out at 5.8 times leverage. We're looking at around the $17,000 cash per $100,000 notional mark. 100% of capital is at risk, but obviously you get the exposure to the upside of the notional value. So scan that and look at it. It'll be a really, I think, overall in midterms, we normally see an average dip. Well, not normally. We always see an average dip since 1940 of 16.7%. The 1 year rally out of that low is usually around about the 36-37% mark, which would cover the cost of the strategy, and then you'd be up 100% essentially if it played out exactly as the last 40 years statistical averages have. And then on top of that, you've still got another sort of 18 months to go on top, where Trump's going to be heavily motivated to enrich his friends, his family, the stock market, etc. He loves to talk about his result of being up 70% when he was president last time, and he's going to want to push that. So overall, we think things really line up for this statistically being a midterm year. The fact that we haven't had any form of dip since Liberation Day, and we're the year leading into the midterms is one that is very reliably statistically of high volatility, but a very good bounce out rate. And I think it's something around the 83% mark positive years, but there is volatility. So this this only obviously comes up every 4 years with the midterms. So you need to in these years really probably try to take advantage of the statistical statistical averages here on the index, because indexes tend to bounce. So it is available to wholesale and resale, retail. So it doesn't matter whether you're a smaller or a larger investor. So scan the QR code and get involved. But hope everyone has a great day. There are a few earnings out in the ASX overall. I believe we've got Atlas Arteria, Hub 24, and Lynas Rare Earths delivering some results. Really that's around about it. Hopefully we'll get stuck into some earnings in the over the coming days. Otherwise, she's pretty boring. But have a great day, people, and we will speak again tomorrow.
Feeling lost with investing? Meet Mosaic. Mosaic is MPC Markets' platform that turns confusing markets into clear, actionable guidance for your portfolio. Discover Mosaic today. Portfolio and trade ideas in one place for clients and subscribers, powered by MPC Markets.